Hello, and welcome to Dolphin's Dive, the weekly strategically minded Handelabra stream hosted by Logic Dolphin. Handelabra believes in civil rights for everyone and in being as inclusive as possible, so any comments or activity actively work against those goals are not welcome and will not be tolerated. With that, let's do new game, 2 boards, any complexity, random adversary, no supporting adversary, and the scenario is Great River. And now we'll take a look and see what we have here. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Alright. So we have Serpent slumbering beneath the island. Setup, put 1 presence on your starting board in land number 5. Special rules, Deep Slumber. You start off limited to 5 presence on the island. Raise this with your Absorb Essence power card. Each use covers the lowest revealed number. Your presence limit is the lowest uncovered number. Growth options is to pick 2. Number 1 is Reclaim All and move a presence range 1. Number 2 is gain a power card, gain 1 energy. Number 3 is gain 4 energy. And number 4 is add a presence to land without blight at range 3. Presence track starts at 1 energy per turn and 1 card play per turn. Goes up to 12 energy and 5 card plays per turn, although it's kind of annoying to get there as you have to first do both the upper and lower of the first half, uncover the earth, and then we get to the broken side of the board, or the panel. But there's also a fire, a moon, a water, an earth, 2 NEs, and 2 reclaim 1s. The innate powers, Serpent Wakes in Power. At 2 fire, 1 water, 1 plant, gain 1 energy. Other spirits with any absorbed presence also gain 1 energy. At 2 water, 3 earth, 2 plant, add a presence at range 1. Other spirits with 2 or more absorbed presence may do likewise. And at 3 fire, 3 water, 3 earth, 3 plant, gain a major power without forgetting. Other spirits with 3 or more absorbed presence may do likewise. You also have Serpent Rouses in Anger. At 1 fire, 1 earth. For each fire earth you have, 1 damage to 1 building. At 2 fire, 2 earth. For each 2 moon, 2 moon, 2 earth. For each 2 moon, 2 earth you have, 2 fury to be pushed down from target land. And at 5 moon, 6 fire, 6 earth, and -7 energy cost. And every land in the game, X damage, where X is the number of presence you have in and adjacent to that land. Obviously broken, but very hard to get there, of course. We also have Finder of Paths Unseen. Ooh. Setup. Put 1 presence on your starting board in land number 3. Put 1 presence on any board in land number 1. Note that you have 6 unique power cards. So, special rules. Responsibilities to the dead. After one of your actions destroys one or more Dahan or invaders, or directly triggers their destruction by moving them, destroy one of your presents and lose 1 energy. If you have no energy to lose, destroy another presence. But we also have Open the Waves. You may make up to 2 of your lands adjacent at a time. You may change which lands are adjacent once between actions. Growth options, pick 1. Number 1 is reclaim cards, gain power card, and you may ignore range this turn. Number 2, add a presence plus 1 card play this turn. Number 3, gain a power card, add a presence at range 2. And at number 4, add a presence in any land and gain 2 energy. And the presence tracks are certainly something interesting, is it not? Starts at 0 energy per turn and 1 card play per turn, and it's kind of hard to see where we end up at. There's a 1 energy, 2 energy, plus 2 energy, 1 energy any, plus 1 energy, so it looks like you get to 6 energy at most. As for card plays, 1, 2, 3 card plays. We also get a sun, an earth, a moon, a water, an air. We also have a move presence action. We have an any. We have a +1 range on everything. And we have a push 1 town or city from one of your lands. So, yeah. Kind of all over the place, but note that presence spaces may be uncovered along any paths from the starting 2 spaces, including traveling backwards. So I could, for instance, go from 1 card play to earth to +1 card play, +1 card play, to move presence air to +2 energy to 2 water without having to go through the 1 energy innately. But yeah, it's that's interesting. Innate powers. Lay paths they cannot help but walk. At 2 moon, 2 air, push up to half round down of invaders from target land. Do likewise for Dahan, presence, and beasts each separately. At 2 sun, 2 air, push up to 1 invader, Dahan, presence, or beasts. And at 2 moon, 4 air, 3 water, repeat this power. We also have Close the Ways. Each level is a separate power. At 1 air, 2 water, isolate target land. At 2 air, 2 earth, isolate target land. At 3 air, 2 plant, isolate target land. Lots of isolating. But what do we have here? We have England. Additional loss condition, proud and mighty capital. If 7 or more buildings are ever in a single land, the invaders win. The escalation is building boom. On each board with buildings, build in the land with the most buildings. Indentured servants earn land. Invader build actions affect lands without invaders if they're adjacent to at least 2 buildings before the build action. Criminals and malcontents. During setup on each board, add a city to land number 1 and a town to land number 2. And high immigration 1. Put the high immigration tile on the invader board to the left of Ravage. The invaders take this build action each invader phase before ravaging. Cards slide left from Ravage to it and from it to the discard pile. Remove the tile when a stage 2 card slides onto it, putting that card in the discard. And if your card distribution is 4 at tier level 1, 5 at tier level 2, and 4 at tier level 3. All this stuff we've seen many times. In Great River, we've seen the past 2 weeks and have lost. Our first loss was to England, and our second loss was to France, and France was certainly the harder game. So we've read this before. Might as well read it again until we win, I guess. The island is vast, and the invaders are firmly entrenched in its western lands. They now seek to push east across a mighty river and open up a new frontier. Can the spirits hold them back? Recommendations and notes. This scenario uses the balanced boards only. Boards B, C, and F are best for this scenario, then board D. Boards A and E are easier. We are on D and G. Well, I don't know where G is. G is primarily from Nature Incarnate / Horizons of Spirit Island, but who knows? The scenario is notably easier for spirits, excellent at destroying inland towns such as Lightning Swift Strike. This scenario is notably harder for teams with little early control of inland towns. For spirits that focus on defense, counterattack the exclusion of destroying moving invaders, such as Vital Strength of the Earth, and against adversaries that create loss of extra towns. So such as France. But England, of course, is England, but the kind of nice thing about England is that we'll be more likely to have cities on the coast, which will make this easier. Sort of. And we do have a bit of inland town control thanks to Serpent and Finder of Paths Unseen. We can't destroy buildings as easily with Finder, but that's what Serpent is for, I guess. Setup changes. Place island boards touching top to bottom so their oceans are on the same side. In this game, the oceans represent an immense river in the west. Rules changes. Population spills across the river. After the build step, invaders build in all coastal lands without buildings, but with explorers. After the explorer step, invaders explore into all coastal lands without buildings. So they will have extra build actions, extra explore actions based on these rules. We have the additional loss condition: if more than 3 towns per starting board in total escape off the edge of the map, the invaders win. How do towns escape? Well, relentless migration eastwards. At the end of the slow phase, each town moves 1 land inland, farther away from the ocean, starting with the most inland lands and working their way to the least inland. When towns in a land have a choice of multiple lands to go to, they are split as evenly as possible, starting from the northernmost upper such land. When a town will be prevented from moving inland by isolate effects, it ignores those isolate effects unless a spirit pays 1 energy. When a town cannot move further inland, if it is on the eastern right-hand edge of its board, it moves off the eastern edge. Otherwise, it moves to an equally inland adjacent land if possible. So, isolate will help a bit, but we do have to pay extra energy to afford that. We lost this game because of a bug last time we played against England, because we didn't have a choice. The rule is that we start from the most inland lands, like range 3, and then to range 2, and then to range 1. And the rule that says moves to an equally inland land if there's no land to move inland into. And we had 2 lands that were at range 2 from the ocean, and it chose to move one from one range 2 land to another without giving me a choice. And in so doing, it created a land with 7 buildings, which created the loss condition for England. Presumably that bug has been fixed, but we will see if it has been, I guess. Azamat asks, when are we getting Wandering Voice? Soon-ish, probably. I think John demoed it, or maybe... No, I don't think he demoed it, did he? No, he did an aspect. But it is, I think, on the next set of, or the next tier of releases for Nature Incarnate. I'm not playing on the beta build, so I don't have it available here. Ooh, no aspect. Huh. No aspect. But, yeah. All right, this is difficulty 9. Let's see. Setup, setup, setup. We have a choice for Finder. You can go to land 1 of either board. So we're already on G3. Serpent actually hasn't done their setup yet. It's going to go on land 5 on your board, which is pretty central. Kind of a nice spot. But probably just taking this presence and going as far as possible with it is also a good idea. Exploring mountains. Okay. So, obviously these are builds that are happening. But we also have towns that are going to flee. If we turn on Spirit Insight, we can actually see the ranges from the ocean. D is interesting as... So what's the rule here? When a town has a choice of multiple lands to go to, if it cannot move further inland, it is removed, otherwise moves to an equally inland land. So D8 is actually range 2 from the ocean. And yet it doesn't have another range 3 to go to, and it is on the eastern coast. So this is already like a scary land, as any town that goes in, or any town that goes into, say, D1 could end up in D8. Or will end up in D8, because when you have a choice, split as possible starting from the uppermost land. So any town that's in D1 will flee into D8 to begin with, and then D8 off the board. And yeah, but the nice thing is that we do have that city in D1 thanks to England, so they're not going to do coastal builds in D1 as frequently. But that is something to note. There's a town in G8. They're building a city, but that town is still going to flee. It could be worth letting that town go off so that we could focus our efforts on something else. That said, we are Finder, and Finder can move cities. You can push invaders. Push invader is a very powerful thing, as that pushes cities. Most actions that push explicitly say push an explorer town. Never says push an invader. And the more coastal cities we can get, the easier it will actually be, because after the build step, they build on all coastal lands without buildings, but with explorers. But after the explorer step, they explore on all coastal lands without buildings. So like G3, for instance, doesn't have anything in it. Even though it's not a mountain, they're still going to explore there this turn. And then on the build phase, even though it's not a mountain, it's still going to build there because it's an explorer without towns, or without buildings. But then in the slow phase of next turn, that town will then move, but this explorer stays here, which means that this is going to keep building every single turn. And even if we do remove the explorer, it's still going to put a new explorer then after the explorer phase. But if we get a city in here, they don't explore here and they don't build here, as it violates both clauses here. They will not explore into coastland without... I mean, it's a city, so they can't explore, and it has a city, so they can't build. Well, or rather, yeah, I mean, it's not that they can't build, but it's more that they aren't. It's not an extra action. So it's kind of going to be vital if we can somehow get Finder to go into G8, push the city into G3, or into D3. Like, normally coastal cities are bad, and it's still going to be scary dealing with, like, whatever coastal ravages there are, but at least we don't really need to worry about the extra builds and explorers. Anyway, yeah, so they're building here, but that town's also going to vacate, and then that town is vacating or moving or something. The threes over here are kind of nice. Yeah, board D does that have that issue with the twos here. This two will go into this three at least. These twos will go into these threes. Yeah, so we're not going to have... I don't think we're going to have any issues this game where a 2 goes into a 2 again. Now, if we isolate, and this is what I wasn't sure about last time. Each time moves one inland when it prevents them moving inland by isolate effects. If it cannot move further inland. I feel like if we isolate a right-hand land, it still moves off the eastern edge. I couldn't get any clarification on that looking at FAQs, but like if we isolate G8, it's still like it can't move this town, but it's still on the eastern edge, so per the rules it would still move. But I don't know. We'll find out this game probably. All right, so Finder has two different things. We can make 2 lands adjacent at a time. 2 of your lands adjacent, which is kind of important for pushing. So like if I were to grow into G8, then I could make G8 and G3 adjacent, and then I could use this lay paths they cannot help to push from G8 into G3. Main issue, though, is that we don't really have range there. We can add a presence in any land, which would do it. But I'd kind of like to have more card plays, honestly. As we're not going to be able to hit this threshold without 2 card plays right now. And we can't get to 2 card plays. That said, the +2 energy is also kind of important, as we don't really have energy either. So... I mean, we could play 2 cards that are energy 0. And if we add presence in any land, we actually could just play a circuitous and wending journey. Circuitous? Circuitous? Which, yeah, could hit G8. I haven't actually looked at these powers. I've only played the Spirit once, so I kind of forgot all of the things that this has. Paths tied by nature move with 2 invaders, Dahan, presence, beasts to land within range 2 that has the same terrain. Well, G8 and G3 does not have the same terrain. So my first thought is we will use Circuitous and Wending Journey to move G8 to G3. This town can move there as well. And then in the post-slow phase, that town moves to G4, but we still have 2 more rounds before that town leaves the board. What about the other cards we have here? Move Dahan. For each Dahan, you may move. Move is not push, so it's cool. As well as push things to a land that is also coastal or inland, whatever the target land is. Uh-huh. Okay, so I kind of like that first thought I had. So probably is better to get to +1 card play and just spam this for energy to start with. I don't really know what the meta is for the spirit, as it were. I don't really care for metas too much. I like to approach each game as its own, you know, challenge. I imagine +1 card play helps to get to that 2 card play mark. This, I think 2 energy is more important than +1 card play for growth options. Eventually we would like to gain power cards, I guess. You want all of these things. Getting to push 1 town city from one of your lands for free is probably also vital. And +1 range on everything is also kind of funny. As far as elements go, I mean, air is important on pretty much everything here. So this air is vital. Move presence also allows for like us to make lands adjacent pretty much more easily. It makes our presence more fluid. But yeah, we're gonna do earth here. The only instance of earth is on the second. Close the waves for an isolate. Push there. We don't need to make things adjacent just yet. We can do this at any time. We can change once between actions. But yeah, I think that will take care of that. It will put a city over here, which is going to be good. And it stops the town from leaving. Now for Serpent. D5, this town's just gonna move to D7? D6. Which means this land is already covered. Like, it will ravage, but then the Dahan kills the Explorer, and unless they have plus damage, it's not gonna blight. But the town that builds in D8, I guess also technically that's an Explorer, by the way. The town that builds in D8 and the town that's currently in D7 is both leaving the island. If we let both of them leave, well, I guess D2's town is going to end up in D5, isn't it? Yeah, so there is going to be a town in D5 in the end. We do have... Oops. We do have a means of defending. Which would be nice if we had... Oh, it does. It has defend too, so we're fine. Standard turn 1 for me with Serpent is Absorb Essence. Target spirit gains an any, right? Is it worth just waiting for next turn for that? As the only present, like I would want to keep these 2 presences. The only one I'm going to be willing to lose is D1. It's not really doing anything right now, but I would like to stay on that board if possible. Um, we could do Gift of Primordial Deeps to give a potential new. Well, it gives it power. Could play it for elements, or it gives a Moon Earth. Either of which will help that much, though. I guess the thing is, we probably want to consider. Well, yeah, no, we actually don't have any consideration here. We're probably going to do game power card and add a presence in any case, so I guess we're looking at the power card first. None of these are directly helpful for anything other than target spirit gains energy, plays into the power, gains power, plays it immediately, gain 3 energy, steal a presence, or defend. So none of these will immediately push towns, and we don't have elements or card plays to hit the second tier, as we need 2 presences to get there. So let's take a look at this power card. And from what I remember, the elements that Serpent doesn't care about is sun, air, animal, because there's a lot of elements over here. So pretty much anything that gives as many elements that are not sun, air, animal. And then plant is nice as it allows us to give gifts, really. So, all that said, don't really have anything here that helps with the town situation. So these 2 are probably just going to vacate. We do have 6 leeway. The additional loss condition is more than 3 towns per starting board. So we can have 6 escape, but once a 7th escape, that's more than the 3 per. So we would lose. Let's see. There's no earth on any of these. This has a moon, but it does not have an earth. Oh yeah, because it just said there's no earth. This has fire, water, but no plant. These 2 have plant. I mean, Sky's Herald allows for destroyed presence to go back, which is kind of nice for Finder, as your presence is more liable to get destroyed, because if you use an action that destroys things, then destroy one of your presence. So being able to put destroyed presence back on the land that way would be nice down the road. Damage is just not that meaningful. Fear is nice, though. And an elusive ambushes gives the defend. I guess it's a defend that could target D5 directly, and it allows us to save Elemental Aegis, as otherwise it's being wasted as it's only hitting the 1 land. So maybe I take elusive ambushes here. Call to Migrate is also good for moving Dahan, but it only gives me a fire in terms of elements I care about. So I'll take that one. It doesn't solve our town situation, but these 2 will leave, and that's just what it is. So the town in D5 goes to D6. Next turn, if I do elusive ambushes and absorb essence, do I have enough for something? We're getting a moon. But this doesn't have earth. So we're just gonna have the 1 damage. So I don't think we have an immediate solution for D6 unless we find another power card next turn that helps. I'm just going to grow to D6, I think, as this is the land that's going to have the most towns. Because everything that's in D5 moves to D6. D4 splits between D6 and G8. D7 moves to D6. So this is getting a lot of towns over the course of the game. G8, G7, let's see, G8's getting D4 half the time, it's getting G6 prime, well, G6 only, and G5 primarily. G7 is getting G5 secondarily, and then G4 only. So yeah, these threes are going to be the ones we want to be in over the course of the game, as that allows us to provide a defense against towns leaving the edge of the board. But for this turn, I think we are going to... Is there a reason to do Gift of Flowing Power instead? You'll gain an energy and you can play another power card. I mean, we could see if isolating D7 stops that town from leaving, which would be interesting. But I would rather just get new power cards, I think. Alright, so primarily we want air. These two have air. Plant and earth helps with isolates. Destroy means my presence gets destroyed. Jungle Sands defend. I mean, I feel like this is nice. It gives air earth, it gives air plant. So it gives me 2 ticks for isolate. I kind of want moon, but there's no moon on any of these. But moon pushes up to half round down of invaders from target land. That's what allows us to keep the inner lands from having things. But none of these have moon. This is most useful for elements. We're not clicking that one. This one doesn't give anything other than air. This one gives a sun and a plant. But I kind of like defend. If I were to play this turn, this does grant me an isolate. And the isolate is range 1. Should we isolate D7 and see how that works? It will... I guess no, because D7 was moving into D6. I mean, it seems like it would most likely... Oh, this town isn't even leaving the board. Why am I thinking it's leaving? It's not. You could isolate D8 and see how that works. The defend isn't going to be helpful for this turn. Question is that isolate useful? Kind of feel like it's too early for it to be useful. I don't know. Isolate's kind of tricky. I feel like if I'm just playing it to get an isolate and not using it for its innate effect, I think it's useless. Well, not useless, but rather not deal with it. All right, we don't need adjacencies for any of these. I do have a random thought. could make 2 lands adjacent that are equally inland, and in a situation where... I guess that wasn't happening in this game anyway. Yeah, it's not happening. But in a situation where you do have an inland land that's not on the edge of the board, and it would move to an equally inland land, we could make 2 lands adjacent that are far away from the board, just because. Alright, make these 2 adjacent. Push up to half, round up. So you can go there, and you can go there. That explorer can stay. This presence should stay. And then these 2 well... Ah, we have a choose for me button here now. Aha! I have choices. Whoa. So this town moves there, that town moves there. That town leaves. Alright, now these are the range 1/1s. This one is forced. Okay, no, I see. Okay, I was gonna say it's going to the G4. In actuality, it's adjacent to G8, which is northernmost. So that situation did occur. Okay. Well, okay. So I would probably prefer for that not to happen. How do I reset adjacencies, though? The button is there, but I can't get to it. That might be a bug. Technically, I can do it between actions, yeah? So I just did an action, I should have the ability to do it. Whatever. If I can get Dahan in G8, that would actually be fine. We could do Elemental Aegis and put my presence in D4 and it's adjacent to 3 mountains. Maybe I do that this turn. So G2 goes to G6. D2, like, the order doesn't really matter, except I would kind of like for that to not go there, but we'll pretend that was intentional. I don't know, I feel like I should probably submit the bug. Underpath scenes open the ways. Oh, that's a known issue. Okay, that was an old bug from last week. I totally forgot. Okay. 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 Finder of Paths, Unseen, and Great River. Should I be able to change adjacencies in between the migrating towns step, or at least between the usage of the last slow power and the beginning of the migrating? I need to talk to someone. Can I explain what happened? I already did. Skip. All right, cool. Every week with this scenario, I find a new bug that's going to cause my loss. Every week. Okay. So my plan here is to plop a presence here and defend these 3. And I would like to have Dahan in G8. So we do have a thing that moves Dahan, yeah? Move the Fort Dahan between target land and one of your lands. Oh yeah, we can very easily move things. Net Ravage is fine. Jungle build, so it's these. And then the scary one is this one. It's building a city, but it's also 2 towns that are vacating. And as we said, this turn we don't actually have a means of solving that with Serpent. But if I can trigger this, we could push 2 towns. I am nearby, so these 2 presence actions would work. I would need to have 2 moon and 2 air. This gives me a moon and an air. This gives me a moon and an air. Target spirit moves 3 of their presence to 1 of your lands. They may move up to 1 invader, 1 Dahan, and 1 beast along with their presence. Total not for each presence. So what would that do for me? I could use that to get a town out of D6. It's not going to stop the build, though. I want to leave... Well, let's let you just... Into and target land and all adjacent lands. So we don't have to stay in the land when we do that. So we could Elemental Aegis in D4 and then move Serpent's presence somewhere else. I'm not sure to what aid, but... So yeah, if I'm moving Dahan from G7 to G8 and then defending Elemental Aegising in D4. I guess the problem with that is that it kills the city in G1 and we want to leave the city there. That said, we can... Well, no, we're not going to be able to make those 2 lands adjacent. D3 is going to build again. I'm just going to keep building until we get a city in there, but I can't really move cities there that easily this turn. Excuse me. Let's see, we're always doing this, right? We have enough energy for Aegis and Absorb Essence if I click this. Might as well keep gaining miners. Gold's Allure. Again, sun, air, animal. So this one is all the wrong elements. This gives moon. This gives moon fire. This gives fire earth. Earth is good. This gathers a town into a mountain. Could use to try to stop D6 from having things escape. Probably worth. Gift of Twin Days. We can repeat Traveler's Boon. Seems like that moon is actually kind of important, as these are the only 2 moons that are... Sorry, this moon over here is important, as the only moons I have on my innate powers are Traveler's Boon and Offer Passage. And if I play both this turn, then I'm out of moons, and I have to hope to find more moons. I guess I don't have to play both this turn, as actually if I absorb Essence, I get an any. And that any could be moon. We're definitely doing +1 card play, unless I decide to do this growth and get to the 1 energy for the moon. That's interesting, actually. I still have 2 card plays, but I don't have to play both of these. Drift down is going to be useful for next turn. guess I can't play Twin Days this turn now, because we definitely need Aegis. We definitely need to absorb for Aegis to defend enough with the city. But this is tempting. I think it's just going to be Gold Allure, though, for the Earth and town movement. Presence has to go in D4. Aegis absorb. This does give me a town push. Also destroys a town. Right, I think my original analysis of the Earth was with elusive ambushes. But now that I've played both of these, I do have enough. Because Aegis is certainly better this turn than originally thought, because it's hitting 3 lands. The only potential issue is the city in D6, but we're going to move the city, probably. I guess we could do this in D4 and kill the town there. The town will basically be replaced by the town in D3 again, but... if I move the 2 towns from D6 to whatever... Alright, so this is an appointment of return. Let's click this. This is presence at range 1. We want to be in D6. So if I take the moon... we're using offer passage. I need another air, but any of these give air. If I do a sun, you do push an extra thing. If I do an earth, we isolate a land. So like if I were to do this one, paths tied by nature. This gives me both isolate and push up to 1 invader. Do I want to do that? Oh, this is fast. But if I do have the threshold, then I still push 2 towns. But then the problem is they don't build a city there. That's a problem? Question mark. But no, I would still get the 2 towns out of there, and then the town that builds, Serpent can destroy with Serpent Rouses. And then that town is going to be hit with the town in D4 and G6. So then we have another issue for next turn, but we do have elusive ambushes potentially. It needs to hunt in that land though. Although we could probably use the lay paths to move to Han, since that's a thing. We also have Drift Down. I guess G7's building. We don't have a solution for that yet. I guess we could isolate D6. If we isolate D6... oh no, I'm wrong. G6 is not moving in there. Oh. Oh. Because... oh. I see. Because this was a 2. Uh-huh. Okay. Interesting. So I can use Finder to manipulate the steps here. I mean, we don't get that step between the last power and the migrating of towns, even though I feel like that probably should be a thing. But we can do this to like make these two lands adjacent, and that turns that. Oh, it didn't update in real time. But we can do that to make this a 2 instead of a 3, which then means that the town in G6 would then move into D4, which is interesting. Also means that whatever's in G8 would move into G7, as it's now closer to the coast. In fact, yeah, we could make like D6 adjacent to a coastal land, and now that's no longer a 3, it's a 2, and it moves everything into G8. That's interesting. That puts a new calculus to this game. We could actually set this up every turn for them to keep moving towns between D6 and G8 for the rest of the game, which is funny. Actually, oh no, yeah, because G8 would move to the next 3, which would be D6. It's northernmost. I guess it would move one town there, one town to G7, one town there, back and forth. But then, like, D6 would only be able to go into G8. So that's interesting. Anyway. Coming back to the question of what I want to isolate. I suppose an isolated land doesn't have a number on it for distance, as it's... Or is it still kind of distance? I don't know. We would have to pay energy to prevent them moving. Yeah. So maybe it still has that distance remembered. But what isolate would make the most sense? Not sure. If I were to isolate D6, then the town D4 moves into G8. I guess that means I wouldn't have to worry about that ravage next turn. But we would have to spend an energy to prevent that town moving. Or to have it not move in that land. The town that's in G7. Maybe it's better to isolate G7. Let's see if that prevents the town moving. I think that's what I want to do for here. So offer passage, move these there. And then We better move D6 into G3, so you want to make these adjacent. Push that town there. I don't have to move a presence. I think we want to leave the presence there because it's inland the most. Move that town. That new town that builds there will destroy directly. Absorb your essence. Sorry, one sec. Theoretically, I don't need the G3 presence at this point. I want to leave these presences here, probably. So I guess I take D1. We have an any that I didn't really account for. It's not going to do anything. Let's take a water for fun. And then we isolate this. And then we Aegis here. Okay. Coastal lands multiply. On each board, add a town to a coastal land adjacent to a coastal town. Explorers blunder. On each board, destroy 2 explorers among lands with beasts. Coming of age. On each board, add a Dahan to a land with Dahan and no blight or disease. Coastal land adjacent to a coastal town. I can't make these really adjacent that well. Skip this. So I think putting a town in D3, if possible, but that's not going to happen. Town will be added to board G. Forced into G2. And then no coastal towns there. Okay, so I mean, I guess it didn't really matter, but putting a town in D3 would just prevent them from doing the coastal build there anyway, but eh. On each board, destroy 2 explorers among lands with beasts. Okay, so I guess they're not building there because there's no explorer there anymore. On each board, a Dahan to a land with Dahan and no blight or disease. I guess it's forcibly choosing board G first, even though D has options. Just get rid of one of these singletons because they could be converted by an event down the road. Neither of these are ravaging anytime soon. Let's do coastal, I guess, for fun. And then here, can't do D2 or D5. Just make coastal. No fear cards yet. Don't care about this ravage. I'm just gonna skip and not skip the rest of the phase because maybe that was the issue from earlier. So build. I don't think adjacencies here are meaningful. Okay, sands. I don't think adjacencies are meaningful here either. All of these sands are viewable. The only reason to change adjacencies would be to prevent this sands from being adjacent to a land with buildings, but we can't do that with this. And now they're exploring G1 and D3. Okay. So Serpent Rouses is going there, but before we do that, since we can't really undo the adjacency here, we have paths tied by nature. This targets moves invaders to the land within range 2 that has the same terrain, so we could use that to prevent a town from escaping. Like G7, we could move that town somewhere else. We could move it to D6 and then push that town, which wouldn't really do that much, but it's cool. Bear in mind, we have mountain builds. Isolate is probably going to be important to prevent some of these mountain builds. Unless we can somehow chase explorers out of them. Also, Jungle Ravage, which... those are really the only ones that know. Maybe that one, because the town's going to move in there, probably. That says 2, but it's really 3. Unless I leave that 2 there, and then that town moves to D5. That's a thought. Because if this is still at 2 from the coast because of adjacencies, then this can't move anymore. I guess no, it goes in the G8. Never mind. But it does mean I don't have to worry about that Ravage. So maybe I just change that to a check mark because I don't have to worry about it. Sands build. So what's going to be the most use for paths tied? This also moves 2 invaders. Moves to a land with the same terrain. So we could use this to put a city somewhere if we had cities in good places. We would like to have a city here, but the 2 other cities are coastal. We'd like to have a city here, but no other mountains have cities right now, so that doesn't work. Also, this says move, so it doesn't care about adjacencies, but... or I guess it kind of does. Like, if I make D6 and G3 adjacent, then this town can move to G4 through 2 spaces anyway, although, I mean, that's not the same land type, but the point remains. I kind of want to see if this isolate prevents this town from moving. This is science that we need to do to help me understand how that works. So I don't really want to move this town out with this. This we can destroy. This town will move to G8. It does put a city in there, but that city can move to G1 down the road. Next phase, I mean, it as a city. This is range 1. Could try to prevent a sands build with this. So, like, if I do this, because these 2 are adjacent, it should be able to move to G3. No? Pick a land. Oh, I had to click the land. Yeah, so it does move. Okay. I'm not saying that's a good idea. towns that are here are still going to move to D6, right? Because of that adjacency. I was thinking of leaving that adjacency in, but the problem is that that's... It's going to move those towns. Our attempt at leaving D6 derelict of towns to make it be one less ravage we need to care about is getting hard. If I get rid of that adjacency, those towns move into G4, which is fine. So maybe I do something like this. And then kill the adjacency. So now this moves there. So those towns are going to move into G4, but G4 is not doing anything. They're building a town in G3. That's whatever. We are getting to the point of the game where we're going to start Londoning, which is going to be funny, as the London is kind of variable because of things. But like on board G, that means it's going to put a city in G4, but that's fine. I honestly don't care about cities in this game. I kind of like cities. So we got rid of the town that's in D4. If we isolate that land, that prevents that build, right? Because it gets rid of adjacencies and they're no longer adjacent to two buildings. So we could do that to stop the D4 build. Assuming that we do get one of these next turn. So I think we're fine to just move on now. Deal damage. I don't know why I had an option there. Okay. So this town, we have to pay 1 energy to enforce it. So what happens if I pay that energy? It doesn't leave. Cool. All right. So we are preventing that town from moving because of isolate, so that town is still there. Cool. Follow-up question. Did I actually want that to happen? Alright, those towns are forced. Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't care about the blight. I do care about the fact that that town still exists, and then I have to do something to stop it next turn anyway. Could be worth just getting rid of the town, even though it does advance the loss condition. Just so there's fewer things to have to look out for. Let's see. So the sands ravages that are happening are these. Only one of them kind of matters because there's a Dahan in that land. Drift down is range 2, so we can hit it. Kind of don't need that Dahan to actually survive, honestly. Well, I mean, we don't need to kill the city, right? We want that city to survive so that it doesn't produce towns in that land. So if I play Drift Down, I get an Air Earth. Probably gonna try to get +1 card play. And I'll always have air, so we were gonna hit one of these isolates at least. If I were to take the moon from here or from another moon card, then we would hit the move half thing again. This is range 0. Yeah, do I want that town to be there? Kind of would just rather the town be gone, honestly. Yeah, so let's let that town leave. We did the isolate just for the science. Now that we know how that works, it's all good. Okay. So again, build, 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 build. Ravage, 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 and it says after the build step. Does that mean that it could accidentally produce a ravaging coastal land? Maybe. So like technically that's building at some point. And then sands are building. And we really need to make sure that D4 doesn't build. So one isolate thing needs to go there. We also have elusive ambushes for defend. Okay. Defend with that instead of drift down. Not sure if that's better or worse. Kind of would like to get a power card with Finder. G8 is building a city. We can move that city into G1. Oh, but actually, we can't. No, we can't really. Because this is fast, fun fact. I feel like we're gaining power card though. We're probably going to do Gift of Flowing Power at some point. So let's just gain a minor. Committing to all of our actions to this point. Isolate target land. Earth and plant. We did want an air though. None of these have air. This also says isolate, by the way. Sands, wetlands, isolate. We are probably going to get another card play from Serpent anyway. I think Sucking Ooze is nice as it gives me water and earth. So not only do I get the isolate here, but I potentially get 2 more isolates. And it's free. We want to do the +1 card play so I can play 3 cards with Serpent's Assistance. This is presence at range 2. Let's go into G1 to try to eventually get a city there, I guess. Playing 2 cards. So that one probably. That one probably. And if Serpent gives us another play, then we get another air that allows us to lay paths as well as close the ways tier 2. So this is power card most likely. 2 energy or 2 of a single element. Interesting. 2 suns would give us this, but it's worth committing that. Probably not. That said, there's no earths on any of these, so they all suck. And fire plant. Mountain jungle. Range 0. I guess it pushes things out of D5. And a generate sphere. Kind of need to up our fear game at some point. Still just kind of trying to gain control of the island for the most part, but fear cards also get us control of the island. Moonfire works well with those. That said, we would kind of like to have 2 earths so that we can at least kill something. If we take Gift of Nature's Connection, it also gives us an element of our choice. Could click Earth for that. 2 suns over here for whatever reason. We could also just click ourselves for 2 earths. Because if we're doing flowing power, then... And don't forget, we still have to play a defend card at some point. It's probably going to be this card now. So let's click this one. And then... probably need to start getting this presence on these lands that are being dangerous. So this one... this one... Downside of this is I have no earths, period. So if I give myself 2 earths, I do get to destroy a building. That land is fine, it's not ravaging. But the reason I wanted my presence there... Why did I want my presence there? Is it better to be in G8 instead? To destroy the town there? Probably. So, after this turn we get an any, and then it becomes easier to get consistent earths. And then... flowing power, play another power card, has to be drift down. So we get 2 different close the ways. We get an isolate here as well. And we also push half round down. Is there a land where you can push half round down meaningfully? If I were to push G3 into G1, like if I push a city from G3 to G1, if this goes in the order that I think it does, it will do the coastal build. before the real build. It's just after the build step. I'm curious though. Let me see if this is in the FAQ. I should know this because I played this game 3 weeks ago against England, but it doesn't say. Doesn't say. Okay, but so glad I have this and I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I put my presence in G1 this turn. Is there a better place to put it? Like if I put it in G4, I could move out. Well, move one town. That's not that great. Let's just defend. That's an isolate, and then this is just elements. I guess if we give 2 sun, we do get to push a piece. Still don't really see where it would be useful, though. Which is kind of annoying, this is range 0. So, like, I can't push G6 out until I get to the +1 range on everything, in which case, all of a sudden, that opens up this game. Or if I were to ignore range this turn, that would also be funny. Yeah, half round down is kind of not helpful this turn at all. Is that a reason to not play moon cards? I guess I only had the one innate moon. If I isolate all of the range 3 lands, do I actually prevent towns from leaving the island? That's an interesting thought as well. At the expense of millions of energy, of course. Let's put 2 Earths here. So I can kill a town. Drift down is always happening there. Could use this to move to Han. But it's kind of meaningless. guess I'm just not using this power because I mean I could move push half, do likewise for presence. I could move presence with this. Maybe that's helpful. So then I could really do it from either G8 or D6. Still doesn't really seem that meaningful. I only have one sun. I mean, I gained a power card this turn, right? So I can't rewind my growth option. If I were to pick the sun here, I would lose the +1 card play. But I could still get a power play off of this. I feel like these plays are just not as meaningful as I thought they would be. So let's rethink this then. I guess I could put presence here and move the city out, which is kind of bad as it will build. But it would mean I don't have to defend that. Let's assume that I'm trying to work towards suns. So if I do this, and then you play... Actually, there's something else I wanted to do. If I do this instead, I lose the earth. If I play this, I can still drift down here. Still get one isolate. We can push this town. And actually we can push it into the coast to prevent... Oh, actually that would build a city then. Okay, I kind of like this now. So if I push this town over here, that builds a city, but then it stops being a source of extra builds. And it also stops a town from escaping, which means I don't need the earths to destroy a town this turn. For each Dahan, blah blah blah. Kind of tragic that I only have one isolate in the end now. Could still isolate that. Could try to move that explorer. Actually, that still prevents that build, right? No, it doesn't, because D5 and D8 are building. We do have elusive ambushes for this. Wait. I played Drift Down when I already have elusive ambushes. Hold on. I don't need to play Drift Down now. Is there a better play? Like if I do... Air Earth? What if I were to do this? No. Doesn't even have air. That's... We need to play an air. Like, the issue is that moving half doesn't do anything, so... I guess I play that one. Gives me... Well, it still only gives me one isolate. Yeah, it's pretty much the same elements except I get a water instead of a plant. That doesn't really do meaningful. But this gives me Ways of Shore and Heartland. Is that better? No idea. I was going to prevent this build, but actually preventing this one is probably better as it's adjacent to a city town. I could use this to get this Dahan moved out so that we don't have a singleton Dahan. Or one of these is also an issue. I don't want to move... Well, I don't really want to move another Dahan into D2. That's the thing. I don't want that city to die. Move presence? Could move the 2 presence out of G8. Move them to a land within range 2 that has Dahan. Could potentially stop D8 from escaping. So if I do this, move pieces, so it's to a single land. So I guess I move here, move you. You can stay probably. Alright, I guess I'm committed. Harvest Bounty, Harvest Dust. If the island is healthy on each board, choose a land with buildings ravaged there. Okay. Explorer's Blunder. On each board, destroy 2 explorers among lands with beasts. Coordinated strikes in each land with 3 or more Dahan, 2 damage, and defend 2. Okay, I don't care about adjacencies here. Choose land with buildings ravaged there. Don't really like that. This board is a little less straightforward than the other one. I think I'm just gonna ravage in D2 on the other one, but on this board, if I do G6, that blates. I mean, obviously all these are blates, but that's gonna be a cascade on the ravage. We want that to build a city. This kills a Dahan. So probably just G2? Here the choices are D1 and D2. This kills a city, but also blates, and this kills a city, but... whatever. I guess we could kill the city first. Oh no, it's not. We can't even kill the city. Never mind. But if we were to get the fear off of that, that would kind of be nice. 2 damage, defend 2 is only in D1. No fear card. Mountains build. Don't have adjacencies going on right now. Don't want to have adjacencies going on right now. City. Okay, so they didn't build... Well, I guess the only build would have been in D3. But there was an explorer there anyway. That's probably what... I mean... I guess it's skipping the high immigration build, which makes sense. It's not the normal build. Ravage, 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 build. And now the London build. Everything on board D has a singleton. G is going to be G4. Adjacencies don't matter there. This is a town. These are cities. And it's going to be a Sands Ravage. So probably better to put the city in D5. That is blighted. Maybe D8's better. I don't know. I mean, we're going to move 2 invaders out to D7. Oof. Maybe that's not so good. I think I have to do D5. And then Wetlands Explorer. Don't care about adjacencies. I'm just afraid to click skip for rest of phases. That might have been the bug. I don't know. The Explorer D2. Yeah. And then the Explorer. Put another Explorer in D3, because why not? Okay, only slow powers ways ashore in Heartland. So D8 can only go into D7, but that stops the escape from there. That was the whole purpose of this. If we pay the adjacency, it goes in the G7. Can we deal with G7? Maybe I take a major next turn. Find something that deals fast damage. I have to be mindful of the fact that this next Ravage also kind of sucks. We do have a drift down to help. I think I don't pay the energy for this. G8 is a land with serpents, so it can potentially die. If I do that, that goes there. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to assume it's fine. It's probably not fine. Choose for me. Sure. Lots of towns and badlands right now. But if I do make D6 adjacent to a coast, it actually moves D6 into G8. But I think I'm clicking major here. Five energy major. Potentially useful. Target spirit, we move up to 3 presents. Then for each removed presence, they take a minor power and play it for free. Before taking cards, they may also remove a presence from their presence track to take a minor power and play it. That gives us a lot of elements. Is really the main perk of that. And Serpent removing 3 presence is actually really strong. We're not going to hit the threshold on that, though. But that's fine. Storm Swath, 2 fear, 1 damage to each invader. Not hitting the threshold on that. Maybe? If I do Gift of Nature's Connection on myself for air... I have an any, yeah, so the any for water. I have an innate fire. And Nature's Connection for 2 air. This hits the threshold, which is plus a fear, plus 1 range. In a land adjacent to both origin and target, 1 damage to each invader. In lands rated damage, destroy a town. Problem with that is that we don't really have, like, a good follow-up to that. Like, it's 1 damage to each invader in many lands, and I can destroy 1 town in 3 different lands. But then all the pinged buildings survive. Because we don't have any other damages, really. I mean, we still have, like, this, but we don't have any earths, so we're not actually dealing damage that way. We're not getting any plants, so we're not getting the left threshold, so this is just kind of my entire turn. Plus, I would have to make a Sacred Site, which is okay, but something to watch out for. Twisted Flowers. We are on our first fear card. Literally just 4 fear, adds strife for 5 energy. And then Rapid Wings is all the wrong elements. It would defend somewhere, I guess. But no, Transformative Sacrifice seems the pick. It gives me Fire, Water, Plant, which gives me the first tier of threshold here for plus 1 energy for all the good that does me. I have Innate Moon, Innate Fire. Wait a second, I actually hit that threshold, don't I? I have 2 moons. This gives a fire, so I have 3 fires. This has a plant, so if my any is plant, then we do get this. Also, what does take mean? It's certainly different than gain. Put the top card of a power deck into the spirit's hand. When taking a major power, do not forget a power card. So we're just going to get 4 random minors. We're not going to have any choices. But one other significant benefit to this is that if I get crap minors, they are forget fodder for majors. But in any case, we're going to get a lot of random elements, which means potentially, like, if we get 3 earths, that'd be really good. Well, at least 2 earths. And a water or something. So it's definitely Transformative Sacrifice. Maybe I forget Gift of Nature's Connection. I could forget Absorb Essence and just rely on removing presence to maintain the presence cap. I mean, one downside is that we're not going to have Finder of Paths Unseen with 2 or more Absorb Presence. They're not adding any more presence. They're not gaining a major without forgetting. But honestly, the thing is, if I forget a unique, I could gain it back with an event that says regain a unique. So maybe I forget Absorb Essence. Aha, we don't need it anymore. We found our means of preserving presence. And that threshold is also going to advance our track so much faster. In fact, we can get to the water this turn, which also helps with getting to the second threshold for adding presence. Okay. That's cool. So, I might need a Sacred Site in case I might get a minor power that cares about Sacred Sites. I'm also removing 3 presents from the island. Sure hope I don't choose poorly here. I feel like D6 and G7 are both issues, but Finder's already there. So I guess it's going to be that, and then this was going to be, I don't have to do it now. But for this, it was plant. Okay, well, I'm doing it now. So we have that threshold. We're going to remove these 3 presences. And then hope that we find something that's range 1, sacred site, something. I mean... if I can at least add a presence at range 1, I can definitely do Serpent Rouses in this land. Okay. That's cool. Alright. Now what? I probably want +1 card play. Maybe I just play my hand or something. By the way, we haven't really figured out anything of what's going on, like, remotely this turn. We're just assuming we're gonna find things that help in different ways. I guess that one's fine. We're not losing to London yet. They're putting a city in D6 with the extra build, and then they're going to build a city with the escalation build, but that's still going to be 6. If I play my hand, I'm not going to have any sons, but I can at least push half round down. Potentially. Okay, so if I just do this. This was range 1 presence? Range 1. Let's say I go there. Again, issues with, like, pushing half round down to a meaningful spot. But if I push the towns into D3, they build a city there, which is fine because we wanted that city there. So you can push half round down, we get 2 isolates. We also have another isolate here on a sands or wetland. A traveler's boon. I mean, I guess we could use that after we figured out things about minor powers, and this can do something, I guess. And then drift down. This needs more than defend 4. But maybe we'll figure something out. Alright, let's see. Let's see what this is. This is going to kind of influence... how this turn goes. So remove everything but the sacred site. And then take the water here. And we get Renewing Rain, Absorb Corruption, Sap the Strength, Gnawing Root Biters. We also gain a major power without forgetting already. Oh my god. Okay. Cool. Gain energy, and so does Finder of Paths Unseen. Add presence and gain a major power without forgetting in a slow phase. We have 3 fire, 4 earth, so that's 3 damage. And we have 2 moon, 4 earth, so that's push 1 town and 2 fear. We have a lot of slow powers. We also have Sap the Strength at range 0, which is kind of crap. But Renewing Rain does care about sacred sites, though, is annoying. So Jungle Sands, remove Blight, add Wilds. Wilds isn't really that meaningful. There is a Blight that could be removed from G6. Or G5. I guess we could move both presences. I'm thinking of moving it to G3 as we could do sap the strength there for defend 5. We also have gather or pay energy to remove blight, blah blah blah. We also have push 2 towns. We also have Gold's Allure. I guess that's the other thing is that Gold's Allure has to be in G8. It's not even really a good place for it because that's gonna just move towns off the board. But we're also moving a million towns off the board already. I could make this land adjacent to a different land and push pieces out that way. Not super fond of that, though. Gosh. Presumably I don't care about Renewing Rain, so I should use Traveler's Boon. To get the defend here. This is 6 damage, so I don't want to move any other invader. I could move it to Han, but that will kill the city that's in G3. Sands Wetlands Isolate isn't really going to be meaningful. Gosh, we need to really deal with these towns. I have enough to kill one town and push the other town out of G8 as it stands. G7, Gnawing Root Biters can push 2 towns out. Gold's Allure doesn't work. Technically it's range 1. But there's no other mountain within range 1 of where Serpent is right now. Maybe I just isolate all of these lands and pay the energy to avoid towns from moving out. Or at least just isolate this one. I don't have range there. Never mind. I can isolate these two very easily. This can only go on Sands Wetlands. I guess I could do the trick where I make D6 adjacent to D3 or G1 or G3, and then that makes this a 2 instead of a 3, so then all these towns move into G8 next turn. There will still be 2 cities in D6, but they're not ravaging there right away. It's the wetlands ravage we'd need to be more mindful of. I could make D6 even worse by moving both Serpent Presence from G6 to G8 to D6. And move 2 towns. Now there's 6 towns in D6. And then once they build, we lose the game. But at the same time, I could then move half the things round down to move those towns somewhere else. But then G3 is screwed. And then we don't have a use for Sap the Strength. Somehow, out of all these miners, we got 0 air. Not that it would have been helpful to have that extra range, but... like, it feels like it's the most useful to use lay paths on G3. Simply so that that drift down does enough defend. Because it really feels like any other option is like a waste of resources. Like, I feel like I want to leave my Serpent Presence in G8. I mean, I guess I don't need to move all the presences again. Actually, I am adding a presence with Serpent Wakes. I can make a Sacred Site that way, so maybe that's what I do. We do have a lot of blight removal this turn if we spend energy for it. So it feels like Defend 4 is better here. As, like, that's a blight spot. Could also isolate it for no real reason. The town that builds there is going to move to D8 anyway. I guess that means they might not explore there. Pretty much the only reason to do this would be for fear. So I guess if I move this presence here, only one. I could move one to Han. It will kill everything in there though. Which I don't really want to do. So I take that back. I want to just move the presence and nothing else. Have this really fancy power and then do nothing with it. Because now I can sap here, and that's defended. So the only blight is D4, but we can very easily just remove that blight, as it turns out. Isolate D3 to prevent that town from moving? Question mark. Isolate. Well, one isolate in D6, but this is a Sands Wetlands one. I'm still indecisive as to which one would help the most. G4 stops the town moving. D3 could stop a town moving, but it still ravages. D1 stops the town moving, but I don't have range there. Oh, I do have range there. That might be meaningful. And then this isolate means that... Well, actually, I don't really want to do the isolate, do I? I want to make D6 be range 1 from a coastal land and those towns move. I don't have range to G7. We still have this. I mean, I guess I can move the towns in the D3 and it builds a city, and then I just have to worry about defending that. I only just have to worry about defending that next turn. Whoops. But now this is range 2, so everything moves into G3. We're gonna do Serpent Rouses in G8 to kill the buildings there. So that doesn't need the Isolate. Could I isolate this? Don't think that really does anything. I don't know why. Just thought maybe it would stop and explore, but it's definitely not. I guess no, it keeps the town in there. Maybe just isolate the things that are range 1 from the edge so I don't have as many worries next turn. Like that, I guess. I don't know. I want to just move on. Fortune Seekers. The next Explorer card matches all lands without buildings instead of the printed land type, but ignore any escalations on it. Okay. No Londons. Grim Toll. On each board, choose a land with disease, net land, 2 damage to invaders, and 2 damage to Dahan. Tell the old stories. Each spirit with at least 2 Dahan among his lands either reclaims 1 power card or regains a unique power it previously forgot. Aha! Doesn't matter. There's only 1 land. Don't kill the city, please. You can regain a unique power. Because why not? This one's interesting as we don't have to reclaim next turn. I was really hoping to get to +1 range at some point, but I think if I don't have to reclaim next turn, I get to move presence and get the air, which will help a lot with hitting these thresholds. So, which of these is going to be the most useful? Probably just Paths Tide? Maybe? The Ravage is going to be in Wetlands. My Defend is not here. I mean, I could just do Offer Passage in D1 just so fewer Dahan get destroyed. Like, I let that Blight, and then the Dahan kill the town and Explorer. Maybe I do that. Your card. Each player chooses a different land with Dahan and each 1 damage. It doesn't stop that build. If I had defended here instead, I could have killed the 1 Explorer there. 1 damage is so low. Everything in... Well, the 3 Explorers will die there. I guess if I damage a town here, then instead of pushing... Because I'm doing 3 damage here, I guess that's meaningful. Instead of pushing a town out, I just destroy all the towns. Maybe killing this Explorer does do something, as after the town moves, it doesn't have anything in it, so it doesn't build next turn. Alright. Adjacencies don't matter here. Sands Ravage, adjacencies don't matter. Adjacencies don't matter. And then this card doesn't matter. It's just any land that doesn't have... matches all lands without buildings instead of the printed land type. And ignore escalations. So, land without buildings. Land without buildings. Which ironically was 2 sand, which made me a little confused and scared, but D8 wasn't explored, but that's because D1 is isolated and D7 doesn't have buildings in it. And every other land in the game has buildings. So, other than the 2 sands. Okay. Neat. Alright. So, gain energy. Put presence down. Gain a major without forgetting. Cast down? After invaders are moved into target land, destroy them. Unfortunately, if my actions destroys invaders or directly triggers their destruction by moving them, destroy my presence. But that is also really tempting. Also, Unrelenting Growth is like one of the most powerful powers in the game. If I were to just use it on myself, then I could very easily max out Serpent's presence track within like 2 turns. But I also need to be mindful of the fact that we don't want to lose the game. The island doesn't have much blight on it. We're removing like 2 blight this turn. So like Spill Bitterness is actually pretty good. I mean, it adds a blight which destroys my own presence. At the same time, I'm a Serpent. I don't care about my presence. We're not going to get to this. We already placed the presence down, so we're getting the Earth next turn. And we're only playing 2 cards. I do have a Reclaim 1. I do have an Any. I have an innate Fire and Water, so this threshold is very easy to hit. I could also do Transformative Sacrifice again, I guess. I mean... Wait, hold on. Can I do this every turn? No, I can't. But if I do this one more time... I'd be down to 1 presence left on the island. But if I do this one more time... Then... Like... It's kind of Unrelenting Growth with extra steps, in a sense. At the same time, we just have to not lose. And I have to be mindful of the fact that I don't want to lose. For instance, like... We're losing a lot of towns. Does it even say on here? No, it doesn't say on there. But... I can only stop 2 of these towns from G7 leaving, and then D6 will go into G8, but then, like, there's also Well, I guess we're spending energy for G4 or something like that. But this threshold is easy to hit. I guess I can't do both of these 2 powers because I don't have enough energy. I guess I could have enough energy if I don't gain them power. I'm sitting on 4. That would be 8. This would be 8. I guess the downside of this is that I can't remove 3 presents with this, as I would be down to... I would have to destroy a presence with spilled bitterness. Is Melt Earth also viable? You have innate Moon, Water, Earth. So I just need 2 waters, and I have an any. So it should be easy to hit this threshold. It will cost Finder presence, but we could probably capitalize on that by using movement. Cast down is tempting, but I can't afford it next turn. I mean, it's something I could try to do in 2 turns. If I were to just ignore everything else, like if I do gain 4 energy, add presence, blah, blah, blah. Could even go up the energy track. Because if I were to just remove 1 board entirely, it makes this so much easier. I pretty much just have to survive next turn. I'm not so worried about Blight. We have lots of Blight removal happening. Double Sands build is fine. Maybe we do take Cast Down then. Okay. So then Absorb Corruption, I think, is going to remove this Blight, so I can just let that Ravage next turn without needing to defend it. I'm just going to operate under the assumption that we will cast down to remove 1 of the boards in 2 turns. And that pretty much any land that ravages will just lit Ravage and not worry about it. Probably. Like D3, we could just lit Ravage and move my presence next turn. Alright, so Serpent Rouses happens here. I guess we could Gold's Allure and then push a town out. Maybe that's actually useful here then. It's for D4 adjacency, but I want to gather out a G7. That's fine, that's fine. Add Strife to the town. Serpent Rouses. I guess I could, it's letting me choose here because I could decide I only have 1 fire for this, but I want to deal the max. Destroy the max buildings. And then push this town. I could push it there. I'm also going to assume I have enough energy to pay for isolates and all that. Gnawing Root Biters. Is this going to be a problem? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should be fine even with escalation. Renewing Rain. Jungle Sands. Blight Removal. Wilds adding. I'm probably just going to remove board D. For no real reason other than... I don't know, maybe I should remove board G. G certainly has more towns. Yeah, maybe I remove board G. In which case I worry about blight on board D. So this is here. We have the adjacency there. Yes. So this is going to move in there. Oh, maybe that's why I can't change adjacencies with... Because if I were to, on the fly, change adjacencies in between land actions here, then it would totally screw with the scenario. Although I do think I should be able to choose adjacencies before choosing to move towns, but anyway. Sorry, I'm thinking back to like turn 1 when I was like, why can't I open the ways in between things? But I feel like I should have been able to do it after resolving the last slow power, but not necessarily in between each land. This is 4 energy to keep all of this, and then I have to spend 2 energy in D4, and I kind of don't want to spend all the energy. Maybe I let 2 towns stay. And then skip the rest. Here. Spend 1 here. Spend 1 here. I definitely want that town to stay. That I don't care about. I guess 1 town's gonna move into D6. Okay, you just have to survive this turn. We're at 2 out of 6, so I can let 4 towns escape. And my ideal is that I save energy for cast down in 2 turns, so I want to gain energy here. I want to reclaim transformative sacrifice. And then the wetlands ravages are these. We're destroying this board, so we don't really care too much about what happens on that board too much other than the towns on the edge. Serpent is going to remove 3 presents. This also requires a sacred site. Let's assume that I'm going to put the sacred site in D4 so I could target G1 with that next turn. We're playing this one for sure. I could absorb essence and get the presence out of D3 that way. What do I need for this? I have the 2 moon already. I will have the 3 fire. My NE is just on plant and I hit it. Like, oh, I guess I need to play that, but okay. I said I was saving energy for cast down, and then I proceeded to not really save the energy for cast down, but +4 energy, +6 funds cast down, and I also get a plus energy here, so it should be fine. Finder, we're gonna move presence. We're probably gonna move presence as much as I want to like try to save my presences on board G. I think we want to move the ways out of G8 if possible. Or open the ways, close the ways, lay paths, whatever. Lay the paths. I have this to hit D1, so that's going to be fine. I don't care about that. That we'll save. We'll do things there. That's fine. But I do need to be mindful of the fact that there are 5 towns that are vacating right now. But if I put my presence here and I make this adjacent to a coast, then these towns actually move to these 2 lands here, which is interesting. So I think I do work on that. I probably should just gain a power. I'm just worried about not having the energy to play all of the cards if they all 1 energy cost, but I can't really do anything about that. This has to be a free power. Like, literally has to be free. Like, that's forced. I just hope it gives me good elements. I think it does. Yeah, I mean, we have this air. Yeah, so we have lay paths, fine. We'll have the earth, so that's fine. Okay. That doesn't require a sacred site. I should try having 9 energy to play my major power. Yes, I'm gaining 11 energy by next turn. It's fine. Hey John, how you doing? I put in a bug report. I kind of realized that half of it is probably intended. Just so you're aware. Unless you've already seen it. I would like to try to not be on this board as much as possible, although I think I still want to move here, right? This move doesn't have to be there, but I do need to move... I'd ideally move something out. So... I don't need to be there anymore, right? Let's make these 2 adjacent and then move that there. Finder is above your pay grade. I mean, so on the end of the first turn, this is what happened, and I'll explain why I think it kind of is working as intended. But I had made 2 different lands adjacent with Finder for a slow power, and then it automatically moved to the migration, and then it didn't let me change adjacencies at any point, which I can kind of understand. You'd probably like, so it explicitly says once between actions. Maybe this entire thing is an action or 1 action. That's fine. But I feel like I should have been able to do it between the usage of the slow power and between the migrations starting, which I don't think I had. Or if I did, I missed the button. But that's my thing. But I can understand that, like, if we were to allow for continual adjacency changes. Like, one trick that we're picking up in this game is that I can make... So currently... This is range 3 from the ocean, but if I were to make these 2 adjacent, now this is range 2 from the ocean. It hasn't updated yet, but now it's range 2 from the ocean. And so if we were to continually like make different lands adjacent to play with that, we could keep moving towns back and forth like infinitely potentially, which would be pretty game breaking. But at the very least, after using the slow power but before the migration, I feel like I should have been able to change adjacencies. That's at least in between the action of using my last slow power and the action of the migration. But ended up for that turn being okay, because it moved the town towards a edge of the board over here, which I didn't really like, but it worked out, so it was fine. Okay, so if I'm doing this, what's happening? I don't care about those ravages, that's fine. I'm going to save my presence here with Absorb Essence, that's probably fine. I get an any. The any's not going to matter. Well, I guess I would probably want to Transformative Sacrifice first. The set of people who play Finder and play scenarios is size 1, and you know who it is. Yeah, I guess that's fair. The only other time I played Finder was also when I couldn't see, or the language between spirits was obscured, and that was a fun game too. But We are trying to play all the scenarios and beat all the scenarios, so we're kind of forced down the scenario road anyway. Anyway, okay. Am I committing to these plays? I feel like I am. I hope I am. I hope there's no major issues. We can lay the paths to get rid of those towns. Those 2 towns vacating is probably fine. This is going to be the board that survives. And I'm just going to assume the elements are not going to be an issue. If anything, I can reclaim all, and that'll probably be fine. Okay, so this... And remove these. And then... We're definitely going to need this energy. So I get Gift of Power, Scour the Land, Scream Disease into the wind, and Roiling Bog. And I once again get to gain a major power without forgetting! Yay! And also we have 2 absorbed essences. Or will have 2 absorbed. So hey, Finder gets to add a presence too. Woo. We weren't even testing for that. +1 range with all their powers. That is actually pretty helpful. Okay, so absorb essence. Save that one. Still doesn't matter what this is. Take water for fun. And then protect those Dahan. Or just destroy 2 fewer. Which actually does... Wait, so it's 6 damage... Destroys 3, yeah, so it only destroys 1 now. Okay. Actually, do I want... I guess, well, this targets lands, but probably want to scream disease first. Do I want to scream disease here? We're not going to get another high immigration build. This wetland is not going to high migrate. Probably putting a disease on one of the sands would be helpful. Oh, I don't have a sacred site for this. I don't have a sacred site for this. Well, I will have a sacred site for this. So there's no more fast powers here. This Dahan death doesn't matter. Yeah, so those don't matter. We're letting that go off. Really just want to try to minimize the town devastation here. Which... If I make this adjacent to this... Then these towns aren't gonna vacate. So I can push these out. Not losing to London. I'm like paranoid I'm gonna lose to London in some way. I don't think we are. Hold on. Let me just... Sanity, because town movement. Fine, I'll build London in the corner. I'm more worried about the town movement causing a London that's 7 or more, but putting 2 towns here is actually really good, as it's going to build 2 cities. I guess there's still next turn's Ravage I need to be worried about. But I think I don't care about the 2 cities there, as they're not going to add 2 more towns to the edge of the board. I'm not worried about Blight. I'm just flat out not worried about Blight, right? Like... But in any case, okay, so they're putting 2 cities here. The reason I need to be paranoid about this because these 2 towns will move to G7. Those 2 towns will move back in, right? So that's 5 buildings in G7. The London build is probably going to happen in G5, and that's going to be a town. Oh yeah, and then G8 moves up. So if they build a town there, then we get 5 towns from these 2 lands, and then 1 from up here. So there's 7 buildings in there. What does Call to Ferocity do by the we kind of have this too. Or what this was the free power I picked and played, and didn't matter what it is, but it kind of matters what it does. I guess we can push a town out. Actually, wait, can I... Oh, I don't have much energy, but I will have some more energy off of this. But I could isolate G7. And that way we prevent the loss due to that. I only have 1 isolate, though. Ideally, I was going to isolate something. I was going to isolate with disease. I guess that's not happening. Are we losing here? There's still a lot of towns over there. But we have Scour the Land. I can just destroy 3 towns in D4. We'll get the Sacred Site back by next turn. Also have this. I do have +1 range on Finder, but not on Serpent. I guess actually I could just do this in D4. That's 4 damage and pushes 2 towns, so it's I don't need to scour there. I could scour in G8. Destroys a Finder presence that was going to get destroyed when Cast Down goes off anyway. But back to the point, I think isolating G7 is the safest. I can at least spend some energy to prevent some towns moving in. I think that's fine. Move 2 towns in, as double builds, that's 4 buildings. London builds there, that's 5 buildings. Double build here, that's 5 buildings. London builds there, that's 6. Maybe I want to use this to actually kill cities. Maybe I do Scour and Serpent Rouses in D4 to kill cities, but maybe no. I think Scour in G8 makes more sense. I think I just play it safe and put... Because that is still 3. Yeah, so... Let's skip adding disease. It's not going to be meaningful anyway. And then push... This pushes 2. Okay, here we go. Urbanization. In each land with at least 2 towns, replace half the towns with cities. Well, at least that means we don't have as many towns to deal with. Stricken. Invaders do not ravage in lands with disease or strife. Retreat from each board. Push 2 Dahan from a land with city to a land without city. Nice. Adjacencies don't matter here. It doesn't matter the order. I'll just keep the strifed one, I guess. Whatever. Does that actually do anything? No. 2 Dahan from a land with city to a land without city. Ooh, adjacencies do matter for this. So Dahan on board G are going to die to cast down. So saving the Dahan on board G is what I want to do. So if I do this, that saves those. Can't do anything meaningful on board D. Does mean that there's fewer Dahan in D. That does mean that 0 are getting destroyed now. Adjacencies don't matter. Someone's gonna say, hey, just click skip for rest of phase. I'm paranoid that it will matter. Wetlands Ravage. That blights. Kill the town. This blights. This blights. This blights. Wait, that was... Wait, how many blight did I only had 4 blight? Oh, I did. Okay. Island is blighting. I think this one we still want to have go off first. Is there a chance this Dahan survives somehow? I mean, it's just gonna die to cast down anyway, so it doesn't matter. Actually, no, it doesn't matter. It's always gonna die. Still healthy for now. Invaders find the land to their liking. Immediately, if the terror level is 1, increase the requirement to earn a fear card by 1 per player. Adjacencies. Okay, adjacencies don't matter here. And then explore mountains. Adjacencies don't matter. Skip for rest of phase. Okay, and then London. London. And then explore all coastal lands without buildings. Okay. Gift of Power? This definitely goes on Serpent. Right? I mean, Gift of Nature Connection gives me, like, what, 2 waters? And then... I can get to the 4 card plays and the any, or I could reclaim another one. Or do I do this first? Well, either of these is, like, point of no return, right? This is definitely on me, though. Uh-huh. Do we have Destroyed Presence? Somehow Finder has not lost Destroyed Presence. Okay. And that's the only spirit that can put Destroyed Presence down. Okay. What if cast down fast? Ooh, I didn't even see Sky Stretches. Is that also like the perfect elements? Water, earth? Okay, it's this. It's that. All right. Sold. All right, Serpent wakes. And we need Sacred Sight. Maybe. Sacred Sight for Scour the Land? Am I still scouring the land? I don't know. Does it matter? I'll take the any. Not now. You can also put a presence. You get a presence! The water doesn't work. You're reclaiming next turn, no. So which of these do you want? +1 energy water, +2 energy, +1 card play. All of your options right there. Probably don't need energy that much. Card play. Add a presence at range 1. Adjacencies matter for this. Maybe. I'm taking this board with me. I want to get to +1 range faster. I'm gonna do this. Yes. And then range 1. So go where? Mountains. Gain a major without forgetting. Solidify echoes of majesty past. Choose one of target spirit's lands. In that land and each adjacent land, defend 3. They add 1 presence. Add 1 destroyed presence to each adjacent land. Skip up to 1 invader action at each added destroyed presence. Target spirit either reclaims 1 power card or regains a unique power they previously forgot. They may play it by pick. Do I have enough energy? 5 + 6 is 11, + 4 is 15. Do I have destroyed presence? Absorb essence helps with this threshold action. Is this the part where I'm just clicking cards? I feel like I'm just clicking cards. This looks fun. I'm taking this one. Let's see. So it's 6 damage, right? 4 damage. It's not 6 damage. What am I talking about? It's 4 damage. Push 2 towns. Oh, if I take an air, this power may be fast. Ah. That's a game breaker. What am I at on this? 5 moon, 4 fire, 4 earth. Well, so much for that. Also can't afford it, but so much for that. So this any doesn't matter. I will take air so that scour may be fast. Alright, cool. Town movements. Town movements. So number 1, I need to make these 2 lands adjacent before the turn ends. Number 2. Are we losing to town or losing to building counts anywhere? Because like there's 5 buildings in there. Serpent's almost certainly rousing in there. I could scour the land to destroy 3 towns. There's like not really any reason not to, honestly, but is there... There's not really a place where scour's better. I guess I could scour in G5 with a cascade for fun. But once this is, I guess, like D6, that town's leaving, but that's okay. I could call the ferocity there to stop that from happening. But, like, almost certainly we're not, like... I'm just kind of operating on the assumption that cast down wins the game. But that's probably not 100% true. I guess I could try to put as many things on board G with these actions as possible. Oh, Targaryen has to have Dahan, by the way. Fun fact. I mean, if I do nothing, this town goes into G8 anyway. And I do have to be mindful, these three towns are actually gonna... If they don't go into G7, they're gonna go into G8. But, like, I mean, we're gonna do cast down fast now, so it doesn't actually matter. So wait, so there's one town here, three towns there. This town's move... Well, if there's no reason to pay the energy for that town movement... If I put those three towns in the G8, spending an energy to do that or something. Otherwise it's... Oh no, because this is going to be adjacent, so I'm actually going to want to move all of them in here. If I pay the energy... If I don't pay the energy, that's actually fine, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there. Okay, so I don't actually need to worry about that. Those two towns aren't going to break the game. G is the one that has the most buildings on this board, of course, because it became London. And those three towns are going to want to move into D6. Yeah, that event was actually like... Normally this event sucks, but it's actually really helpful here. Surprisingly. I mean, I guess it's not the first time this event has been useful. Like, against France, it's really nice. It's probably still useful to scour D4. They're ravaging their next turn. Probably just going to assume this helps D4 somehow. If I don't scour D4, so I keep that sacred site, and then I can put my presence somewhere else. I could actually do solidify echoes somewhere else. Like if I put it in D6, then solidify echoes puts a destroyed presence on these three boards, and then I skip an action in each of those, so then they don't ravage in those lands, and I also skip the build in B5 for fun. It's like, why is that reminder there? It's because I have that there. Because the problem is I have to have a sacred site for this. So if I don't scour this and all those towns for whatever reason survive, that's still 3. That town leaves. There's 1 town there, 1 town there, 3 towns there. That's 5. They go in there. That's 6 buildings. But it is Finder's land. Finders keepers, right? That's what that means. It's probably okay. If I'm really worried, I could do Call to Ferocity to remove one of the towns from D7 to D1, and then it goes to D8, which is worse. I don't know. I feel like I'm overthinking. I'm also feeling like I'm scared I'm gonna lose somehow. Because I've done this scenario 2 other times and I lost to something that I overlooked. So I'm paranoid, okay? I mean, I could put this town over here and then it's 1 less town that's in there, right? Disease! I forgot about that. Scream disease into the wind. And then we're not scouring? That's what we decided on? Even if I win this one, there's still Great River with France 6 and Habsburg 6. Yes, that was my next point, is this game doesn't actually matter. Okay, but now I make these adjacent. So now this is a 2. Which pushes all the towns in there, which is what I want. I don't want this to be a 3 because that makes that town vacate. I guess it's only 1 town. Wait, hold on. Hold the front door. Hold on. Hold on. If I make those adjacent. That town probably vacates. That town goes there. Those towns all go in there. And then I lose. Sick. Well, I still have Serpent Rouses, actually. No, I don't lose. But that's a little better because it gets more towns on board G, which is going to be Cast Town. Then the G buildings also are gonna end up in G8 though. 2 of them will be, right? 3 towns. So 2 go in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that goes in there as well. So I have to get rid of all of these towns to not lose. So honestly, might as well just, because I can only push 2 towns anyway, might as well kill 2 towns. And then you... Gosh, I can't really get you in a good spot. If I put you in G1, you just move back into D4 anyway. If I put you... I guess it doesn't really matter because then we'll just skip the Ravage anyway. If I put you in D3, it goes to D4. If I put you in D2, it goes into D5. If I put you in D5, it goes into D7. If If I put you on D6, you go into G8, but the problem is town counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have just enough buildings in G8. We can't put any more in there. If I put you in G6, you go into G8. Best spot is probably just D5. Alright, well, if I lose at this point, I can still undo. There's no point of no return here. Okay, we didn't lose. There were some towns that I kind of didn't even notice existed, though. But we didn't lose. We're at 4 out of 6. That's fine. It's not... It's if more than 3 towns per starting board. So removing a board does not lower that threshold. Okay. Good. Gain energy. And then 4 card plays. You go there. Play that, play that, play that. And you're at 3 sun, you're at 3 moon, you're at 3 water, you're at 4 earth. So we just need another water from somewhere. Oh. I can't afford that. Why can't I afford that? Okay, I have only 1 energy. Fun fact. So not transformative sacrifice. Aegis? We're skipping the things anyway, but what if I just Aegis? Threshold? Threshold? I still have 2 Ennies. Could be 2 plants. Honestly, it would kind of be nice if I did have another plant. I don't have a lot of fire right now. Do I have a fire plant? That's a fire plant. That's not an earth, but we have a lot of earth. Just that one then? I mean, this also gives me a power card I can play by paying its cost. Also, Finder, you exist. Fun fact. Elemental poo? Sure, why not? Surely there's something that works here. And then what? Like, what's even happening this turn? What's happening is that this is blown up. And then these are ravaging, but we can optionally skip them. And then that's building. And then there's... We're still early in stage 2. No, we're not. Oh, I'm looking at this wrong. We have wetlands, sands, mountains. So it's either jungle or coastal. We're not losing here, right? 2, 3, 4 buildings. With London, that's 5. Presumably, we just destroy shit. I have a presence movement. I can't use that to save any more presence. That's fine. There's a lot of powers here that I don't know what they will do. Let's just do that. Do that. I don't know. Oh yeah, I'm ignoring range this turn. That's what that means. Do I need to move half round down? I feel like I need to be worried about D8 a little bit, just because it's an inland town that's gonna survive, but that's what this is. One of these two will help me, surely. Or I can just isolate lands or something. I didn't move presence, because I'm stupid. Does that also ignore range? Hold on. Yes, it does. Of course it does. Of course. Okay. I will just be in that land now. Okay. Why not? Sky stretches. Cast down. Neat. All right. One board. Surely this is fine. Now you do have a destroyed presence. I choose this land, and then add a destroyed presence. Click a land, add destroyed presence. Bam, bam, bam. Reclaim a power, pay it by paying its cost. Fire plant. Do I have any of those? I think I played the only card I could afford that had that. Or if I can at least just get a plant or something. I just want to do this. I want to keep doing that. That's fun. Gift of power. That one, fire, plant. There we go. I get this again. Range 1 from Sacred Site. Defend, blah, blah, blah. Isolate, blah, blah, blah. Dahan doesn't, blah, blah, blah. Also, Elemental Boon. I forgot. I have this. Hold on. Before I pick elements, let's just do this. You want Moon. Water plant. There, you got all of that. You have some of that. And then now you just need a fire. You have that. You can't ever hit that. You can't afford it anyway. Fire is then better for this. Cool. Alright, now what? Just isolate some land. Probably the land that's range 3. Also, we can just isolate 3 lands for fun. So I can ignore range. I target coast. I can target any land with this. I mean, we can let this Ravage go off. That's fine. This Ravage is definitely not enough. I can stop this build. Yes. Let's make this land and this land adjacent so that I can push this guy over here. Okay, cool. 5 fear cards. The frontier calls. Explore actions. Add plus explorer to lands without buildings. Layer in untamed lands. On each board, add a beast to a land without buildings or blight. Seek out new grounds on each board. Gather 1 or 2 Dahan into a land without Dahan setup symbols. Cool. Skip. Cool. That one. And then this one for kicks. Panic ensues as the invaders are filled with abject terror. Dahan attack. Each player chooses a different land with Dahan. 1 damage per Dahan there. Okay. That land's dead anyway. That's not really doing anything effective. Let's just go here, kill the town. Go here, kill those guys. Avoid the Dahan. Skip all build actions and lands where Dahan outnumber buildings. Okay. Depart the dangerous land. Each player moves and explore a town from a land with beasts, disease, or at least 2 Dahan. Remove that town. I don't know. The effects of fear continue to be felt by the invaders. Retreat. Each player may push up to 3 explorers' towns from an inland land. Adjacencies do matter for this. Maybe. Probably not. This... Defense 3 is just enough there. Go there. Why? Why not? And then you... Whatever. Effects of fear, blah, blah, blah. Immigration accelerates. Each player moves and explore a town from a coastal land. Okay, Sands Ravage. Adjacencies don't matter. Skip that Ravage. Allow that Ravage. Mountains build. Ooh, I can preserve the disease. Jungle. London. And they couldn't explore either jungle because they were all isolated. Okay. Okay. Minor power on me because I'm selfish. Still quite far away from tier level 3, but there's still a lot of towns anyway. Should I go for sacrifice victory? Nah. Should I transformative sacrifice again? Why not, right? Let's see if I can get this. How about that? I need moon, fire, earth. Fire, earth. Okay, cool. Then yourself. And then whatever. And then whatever. And then moon, fire, earth. That's all I want. This one looks fun. I'm just clicking cards. And then this is 4 damage and push 2 towns. That. And then whatever. And then why not? Why not? And then same terrain. Okay. You spend the energy. Okay. Okay. I have 18 18 power cards in my discard. And I'm still not reclaiming all. Because I can reclaim 2. The goal of this turn is to just do this. So I'm gaining energy. And I'm putting the last presence down. I now have a complete serpent tray. I think that's the first time I've ever done that. I take that one. I play these. Any card that gives me fire, moon, earth I want. Moon, fire, earth. Absorb essence. Of course. Of course. And I'm very close to getting this, but I could cement it by taking elemental boon back. Just guarantee it. Why not? Like, does Finder even matter? If I give elemental boon to Serpent, and then Serpent like explodes the island, does that directly trigger their destruction? If a tree falls in the woods, does Finder destroy a presence? These are the questions that keep me up late at night. I just clicked something. I don't know what my cards are. I'll just play slow powers. Because plot, I guess. I don't know. I can move a presence. I do need a sacred site for a purifying flame. Okay. I move you. +1 energy, +1 range on everything, by the way. Which actually means I can move this at range too. That's cute. Okay, finish playing cards. Oh, I don't have enough energy for this. Oh. Oh. Whoops. That's a blunder. I don't know. Do I have this yet? 5 moon, 6 earth. We did it. I don't even need this. I mean, oh, but I still don't have this. Okay, then I need to destroy some more of my presents. Okay, all is good in the world. I hit every single threshold on Serpent. I can gain 2 plants. I also get an element of my choice. Sun. That way, if I if I gain a power card that lets me gain a major power without forgetting or whatever, I can afford to hit the elemental threshold without even considering its own elements. Why not? Why not? I may gather a Dahan. I will gather that so that it's not converted into town. I will isolate, isolate, isolate. I will just move you all, or just one, I guess, over there. Okay, cool. Lesser Spirits Imperiled. Imperiled, yes. And the invader spread is threatening many of the island's smaller spirits. You may tend to your own strength or forge a web of mutual support. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Quit the farmed lands. On each board, push a beast to a land without buildings. One fear explorers are present there. Return to old pillars. On each board, gather 1 or 2 to haunt land with the haunt setup symbols. Each spirit destroys one of their presence. Each spirit gains 1 permanent element for the rest of the game. Forge web. It's free. Destroy that one. Destroy that one. Gain a permanent air. Gain a permanent fire? Earth? Sun? Animal? Animal. It doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter. Alright, let's just finish this game. People are starting to think I'm showboating or something. I don't know. That one. Defend 2 in all lands. Just skip the rest of phase, whatever. Do. This powers up based on presence in and adjacent to that land, so I want to do this first. It's absolutely not showboaty. Oh, but I do have to move presence because I don't have any more. Okay. Well, that can move there. And you can take that one. And then you can take that one. And then you can take that one. Sound good? Then remove that blade. Then remove that blade. Then things. Then I guess I'll do this now. Okay, energy. Here. How much damage is this even? 7? Alright, damage. Game over, victory. There are no cities on the island. One with serpent rouses in anger. The invaders are deeply afraid, and no cities remain to turn to for refuge. Also, half the island just disappeared, and like everything, like 90% of everyone disappeared in the last 5 minutes anyway. The remaining populace swiftly evacuate the island. We got 67 points, 10 for victory, 45 for difficulty 9, 8 for the 4 remaining invader cards, 4 for the 9 surviving Dahan, and 0 for the 1 blight left on the island. Oh boy. I think... Where is it? I think this is my new favorite card in the game. I think this is so good. I think this is so much fun. And obviously works really strong with Serpent, who doesn't want to have too many presents on the island anyway. And then, what if you also have this power so that you destroy presents and then add it back immediately for fun? I don't know. And then, of course, the MVP of the game is Cast Down that removed half of the island. Okay. Also, Finder was here. Finder existed. To be fair, Finder did help a lot with making sure that adjacencies and invaders were in places to avoid, number 1, losing too many towns. We only were 3 towns away from losing too many. And 2, making sure that London wasn't terrible. So Finder was good. Serpent was hilarious. And we have successfully claimed our vengeance on the Great River after 2 previous losses. Which means we can now move on to the next scenario. The one that comes up next. Guard the Isle's Heart. I don't know how we can win this one. It's probably impossible. I don't think anyone has ever won this scenario before. All right, in any case, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed your stay. This was Dolphin's Dive. We're here every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out the other stream we have on this channel, Handelabra Live, every Tuesday at 6 p.m. or 3 p.m. Eastern, rather. Demos of content before it is publicly available, such as the next phase of Nature Incarnate release. At some point, I will re-enable the beta so I can show that stuff, but I need to actually pay attention to their stream and see what they've actually shown so that I don't accidentally preview something that's not ready yet. But yeah, I had fun today. Finally had my vengeance, and also had a lot of endgame thrashing of the invaders for fun. Have a good one, everyone.